Hi everyone and welcome. I'm gonna wait a second or two just to make sure we're there with the tech. Hopefully it's all working. Gonna give a few more people the opportunity to join, but thanks for your time and I'm excited to get started shortly. Okay. I think we can get going. Hello and welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our webinar on navigating the common pitfalls in the Cannes Lions awards entry process and learning how to sidestep them. So, just briefly to introduce myself, I'm Christina Leesom. I'm the founder of Awards Experts. And before that, I was an awards manager at Cannes Lions and the head of awards at Festival of Media. So I've seen thousands of entries in written and in case form form, and been in a room when the jurors were watching the case forms, discussing campaigns, and choosing the winners, and also therefore seeing the reasoning behind it. So, I mean, submitting into the Cannes Lions Awards can be quite a costly investment for entrants, and that's from a time and a cost perspective, and a lot of effort obviously involved in it from the teams. So our goal today is to arm you with insights and strategies to enhance your chances of winning and when entering these awards and to avoid costly mistakes. All right, so what we've got on the agenda today, let's have a quick look so you know what to expect. So first, we're gonna have a quick glance at Cannes 2000, Cannes this year and see what the number says, and then creating some entry before we dive into mistakes. At the end, there will be time for questions, and if the tech allows, hopefully, fingers crossed, you can just send your questions in the chat, and we'll answer them at the end. If that shouldn't work, I'll reach out to you directly, or also feel free to DM me after. So, I mean, success at Cannes Lions gives you global recognition, but of course, the competition is fierce. So, before we dive in, let's start with a reality check. What are your actually chances of winning? So, for this, we had a look at the numbers from this year. In total, Cannes received 26,784 entries. From that, they gave 36 Grand Prix that included a titanium one, 154 golds, and then you see the silvers and the bronze and a short list over here. So this basically sums up to, for every submission entered, the chance of getting shortlisted was 7%, winning a bronze is 1.6%, silver 1%, the gold 0.5, and a Grand Prix less than percent chance. So overall, that means for every submission, there's a 3.3% chance probability of actually winning a lion. So that is quite hard. And it's actually, I know in Cannes Awards time, it can seem like everyone is a winner, but as the numbers show, it is actually not. And it's quite a tough show to win, which is why it has such a global prestige and everyone wants to enter and win. So hopefully this will help adjust your expectations. But also if you entered previously and haven't been successful, that hopefully will make you feel a little better because there's a lot of entries that enter and don't even get shortlisted. And if you get shortlisted, that already is a fantastic achievement. So, but that also means that doesn't mean it's impossible. And that doesn't mean you shouldn't enter at all. But that's why I kind of want to share some of the knowledge here to make you hope better entries. So now is the perfect time. We're here. We're already in November. So it's time to get ready for Cannes because entries open on 15th of January 2026. So it's a perfect time to now get your colleagues on board and your clients, collect your campaign materials and agree on budget, and then draft compelling entry stories through case film and written submission. So it's a perfect time so you don't have to stress too much and can start preparing. Before we dive into the mistakes, I want to make sure we align on kind of what a good entry looks like. You probably are all most familiar with everything, but just in case, obviously your case form is very important. That's your 2 minutes in which you can catch the judge's attention, if you even have to fill 2 minutes, because they see a lot of them, and tell your campaign story. So that's visual, it shows the campaign. That's really the most, it's very essential ingredient of the entry, but it's also the other things. It's the introduction formation, which is for some behind the scenes, for some in the judging room. So, you have to make sure you have the right contact available in case the jury should have questions. You obviously also know who's the client, show the media placements to really show the scale of your campaign, and so on. There's a written entry, which is a quite often underestimated element of it, because the case form gets you on a short list. However, once you're on a short list and it goes with trophies, quite often it's the written entry that pushes you over the line. Because if judges have questions about anything they've seen in a case form, they then refer back to the written entry. So it's really, really important that that's also really well written, entertaining, and gives all the context that's needed for the judges. And I added the credit per se for winning. It doesn't really matter as much, but because it's such an important show, you want to make sure you credit everyone properly. And you give everyone, the credit they deserve. And also you talk with your partner agencies to make sure you don't enter the same campaign into the lion in two different occasions. Happens. And then there's the seasoning, which helps you tell your story, and obviously is required depending on which category you might enter. So there's a presentation image, not so much important for judging most of the times. It's more like the face of your campaign that they also use, in the works, in the exhibition. So you want to make sure that looks nice. Any URLs to work online, supporting images. If you want to give more details about something that you couldn't go into in the case film, a demo film to give a little bit of insight of behind the scenes, or original content if, for example, in submitting branded entertainment or film. So all of this, or maybe some of it, will be required, and really depends on what categories you choose to enter. So, but let's dive in the mistakes that a lot of people make, and I don't want you to do next time. First of all, we'll start at the beginning, selecting your project, because a mistake a lot of people make is just choosing the wrong work. And this is the essential first step, because remember, it's not about good work, it's about groundbreaking work. Your entry should represent a leap in creativity or impact, and you really want to think about work that spark conversation, change perceptive, reinvented a medium or a channel, touch culture. So if we're going to dive a little bit deeper in here, not every, and go to the next slide, not every successful campaign is right for Cannes. A lot of entrants do make this mistake because they forget whatever might have been a first for them, for their team, for their client, for the brand, is probably not a first for the judges in the room. So your work will be judged by the best creative brains in the world from around the globe. So that's why you really have to make sure that this is something they haven't seen before, because nothing kills something in the judging room more than oh, I've seen this before. It could be for a different brand, it could be a different country, but they want to see something they haven't seen before. It's the first time they want to be surprised by the work. So be very critical when you look at your own work, and don't just pick your good campaigns, only pick your outstanding work. So ask yourself, is your work pushing the benchmarks of creativity, and not just compared to your previous work, the industry, or global, but globally? Does it spark an emotional connection? Is the best cases can somehow stir emotions in jurors, make him laugh, make him not cry, but make him sad, make him feel something in a judging room. Did it have a positive impact or inspire change? And obviously we see a lot of cases winning that do that. So that's certainly something that helps your case. But that doesn't necessarily mean you have to then work for an NGO. It absolutely can be for a brand. And I think the combination of brand doing great positive impact is always a very winning formula. Also, does it feel authentic to the client's brand? And I think that's something that will be more important next year, after all the kind of little traumas that happen in Cannes this year, and with case films, etc. I think jurors really want to make sure they pick authentic work that has done for brands, and they can really see that this was something specific to the brand, that perhaps even just a brand could have done. So yeah, so that's really, you want to make sure that this is the work that could have a chance in Cannes. So moving on to the next one, you have picked your work. You're confident that will turn judges' heads. Now it's the second most crucial step, which a lot of people get wrong. And the mistake is entering the wrong line or the wrong category. Because finding a home for your work within the right category is a key to choosing the right stage for your play. So it's really about understanding where your work strengths will be recognized and appreciated. So let's take a closer look. And you really gotta have here means you should closely analyze the category criteria on considering where your campaign's strategic and creative elements align perfectly. Because just because you use a certain element or channel Like, if you go to Cannes and like, where can I enter? They will tell you, oh, you had posters, you can enter an outdoor. Oh, you've done social, you can enter into social create. But of course you can in theory because you qualify for it, you had these elements, but you have to ask yourself what was really the driving work for the success of your work. So just because you've had it doesn't mean you deserve an award for it. So for example, like, step back, evaluate a campaign from an outsider perspective. What really drove the success? Was it the partnership? Was it the astonishing posters, the beautiful design? Was it the creative strategy behind it? Did you have a really strong insight? Or, was it maybe the integration? Could also be. So only if you can argue that a certain element should win, that's when you should enter the category as well, or the lion. So I brought you Caption with Attention, that one really big this year. And they actually entered 22 entries into Cannes, and only one of them did not get even a shortlist. The others, had Grand Prix, had trophies. So it's been an overall outstanding year for them. And let's take a look at it. And then I want to have a quick zoom in the category where they didn't do anything. So let's play the case.
More than 430 million people with disabling hearing loss rely on captions to watch movies and shows. However, the current captioning system has several shortcomings that can make the viewing experience frustrating for deaf audiences.
Captions are not timed with the spoken word.
They don't convey tone or emotion.
And they don't identify who is speaking.
Despite this, captions have remained unchanged since 1971. Until now. Introducing Caption with Intention. A dynamic subtitle design system that transforms the film viewing experience, solving the biggest challenges in accessibility. Synchronization. Caption with Intention uses dynamic text animation, so captions are synchronized precisely as each word is spoken. Intonation. The system brings in varying type sizes, weights, and animation, so you can feel when my voice gets louder or softer. Character identification. Now, colors will distinguish characters.
So deaf people instantly know who's speaking.
This is what it looks like when we bring all those features together.
Go! What's your sole purpose in this army?
To do whatever you tell me, drill sergeant.
God damn it, Gump!
I've seen Forrest Gump many times, but now I'm like, wow, oh my God, I can feel so much more.
Say, what's that button do? I'll show you.
Buzz Lightyear to the rescue!
I like it, because I can track what the actor is saying in real time.
Star Command, come in. Do you read me? Why don't they answer?
My ship!
It's helping me understand the mood. And then you see how he gasps? It got so big. Now I'm following the story better.
Okay. So obviously a fantastic campaign, fantastic initiative, but here's the one where they didn't place at all. And they entered into Design Lion, BO5, Design for Behavioral Change. And that category looked for design solution that successfully influence and inspire positive behavioral change to work to demonstrate how design has been strategically used to alter habits, attitudes, or action towards a desired outcome, whether social, safety, or health related. So the design jury loved this. It has won in the design jury, but not in this category. And that's why I think it's so important to pick the categories where you have a chance, because here they ask for something that already has had an impact. Obviously, they created this and it has kind of been implemented in some things, but it hasn't really caught on big yet. So they haven't really changed behavior massively yet. They haven't really altered habits and attitudes. It's not that everyone now uses these captions. So that's why in this category, they didn't act like I wouldn't have entered it here, because they couldn't prove that they already had this change done. And that's why, even if it's like a campaign that everyone loves, that doesn't guarantee that you'll place in categories that you enter that you actually not really qualify for. So that's why it's important to make sure, to have a look that you really tick all the boxes and read the category descriptions to make sure your work fits in there. Okay, moving on to the next one. The next mistake a lot of people are doing is not doing a benchmark check. So, because you picked up your best campaigns, you know you kind of what category you want to enter into and you think you're good. But before you commit to entering, you really need to complete your benchmark exercise. So, in that, diving in a little bit deeper is going on to the next slides. Yes, thanks, James. So I want you to take a look at winners and your chosen lions from the past year, but not not just look at the Grand Prix and the gold. Look at the bronze. Look at what has been shortlisted. So, because obviously Grand Prix are always the candidates illusion you a little bit because they're so crazy campaigns. So you want to look what's a bit more lower to the bottom, and if you can compete with these, then you should definitely enter. Because by examining past winners, you'll get a sense of what it takes to win and what type of work the jury is looking for. For example, if you can't see internal B2B products within the winners in the Innovation Lions, then chances are that this is nothing that you actually should be entering into the Innovation Lions. So it's not an exercise to discourage, but it's more to inspire and set a realistic benchmark for your work. And perhaps there's a better way, and a better home for your work than you originally thought. So it is really about doing your research. And to demonstrate that, I brought you a bronze. You probably haven't heard of it because I only placed the bronze in Social and Creator for the multi-platform social campaign. So if I would want to enter the social campaign in this lion, I would look at a bronze and then kind of see how my campaign stacks up versus, this bronze here. So let's have a look.
Advertising always looks for reasons to sell a product. We're no different. Until now. Introducing the Mercedes-AMG Pure Speed, a car with no roof, no windshield, no windows, but 2 helmets and a real Formula One halo. 250 pieces, $1 million. There is no practical reason to buy this car.
Nobody needs that.
So we didn't create a campaign for the 1% who can buy it, but for our fans. We created 250 reasons not to buy it and turned them into an omni-channel campaign. The roofless design makes the Pure Speed not a great place for your Valentine's date. It also doesn't protect you against wild animals or the sun. That's why we created our own sunscreen. And even a new job at AMG, informing our most exclusive customers about the weather conditions. We promoted the car's F1 halo with skaters, gymnasts, and gym rats, and celebrated its ridiculous price in our galleries. Reasons in Paris, reasons in London, reasons in Dubai. Wherever you looked, you saw reasons not to buy the Pure Speed. We took over the AMG online store, responded with reasons to trending content, and hosted pop-up events. The community loved it, but we always got the same request. Okay, look, we got you. We brought the Pure Speed to GTA as a downloadable mod pack, so that our fans could take it for a spin themselves. What sold out even here? The campaign results. The brand's most successful organic social campaign, with 250 sold cars and 1 million more AMG fans. With a campaign not for the 1%, but for everyone who loves AMG, showing you don't need reasons to want the AMG Pure Speed.
So yeah, only a bronze, but still a great campaign. So that's why I recommend do check out the bronzes and shortlisters as well, and then find where you fit in. And all right, the next mistake that I brought to you is not giving any context, because you really should never forget who your audience is. And in this case, these are creative minds from around the industry, from all around the world. So let's take a deep dive into this mistake. So not every juror, you have to remember, not every juror is familiar with your campaign parameters. So this means what is completely second nature to you, either through your background, culture, your experience, the work you do with your clients, may be totally new to a judge. And therefore, it might go over the heads if you don't explain it. So CAN now actually forces you to explain at least the cultural context. It's a field and written submission, so that's great. but you have to make sure you really explain and demonstrate why your campaign has been so important for your client, for your industry, for your country. So explain the cultural background, any audience specifics, the industry differences, or any country-specific context. So as an example, let's say you're an American agency and have done some work around Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. So you can probably safely assume that everyone knows Thanksgiving. Maybe perhaps not everyone does, but like, I don't think I would go into much detail really explaining what Thanksgiving is and the meaning for Americans. But you can assume everyone knows about the Macy's Day Parade. So if you've done a campaign around this, you really need to make sure briefly explain it, that, you know, there's a parade that's happening on the day before you actually get into the details of what you've done. Same also goes for the results. You know, if you just throw out numbers as judges, they won't be impressed, because, you know, if they don't have anything to put it into relation with, how would they know if it's good or not? So really, you have to tell them what these numbers mean, and that does the trick for you. So explain any cultural context in your campaign, put your numbers into context, you know, versus benchmark, versus previous year campaigns, versus the industry standards, whatever it may be. But it is important to give that context. And that really makes it easy for the judges to see why your campaign should deserve an award. So that's very important. And that's the written submission would also be the place to do this. So make sure you kind of write this down, because at case form, you often quite don't have the time. So you want to put this in the case form. Okay, let's move on. So the last mistake is, sorry, can we go back a slide, please? The last mistake is making technical mistakes, because attention to detail really can make or break your process of submitting. So you have to make sure you ensure the entry kit, and I know it's long, and all the criteria and the category descriptions to avoid mistakes like naming your agency in a write-up, showing your agency logos and case forms or supporting documents, not subtitling your submitted videos with English subtitles. Can try to introduce that last year. I'm sure they're going to do it this year. Case form is longer than 2 minutes. Latest after 2 minutes and 10, they will send that back to you. And entering more than a large amount of lines or uploading the wrong type of document. So really make sure you read the entry kit and use this and register in a system to ensure you don't miss anything while you go through the process. Okay, 2 key takeaways here make sure to select groundbreaking work, match it with the right lines and the categories, understand the competition and benchmark, tell a convincing campaign story, and read the rules on the entry kit. If that all sounds very overwhelming, we're here to help. So we do have one-on-one services that can, you know, helping you with your submission. We offer a canned strategy call if you just want to bring your drafts or your categories that you're thinking of entering to a call and talk it through with us. And we also still offer free post-mortem calls if you entered anything this year and didn't win anything, and just want some feedback. That's a free 15 minutes call that we offer as well, just to give you some kind of backgrounds. And yeah, feel free to just drop me an email or DM me if you have any questions. So, and the last mistake that you can make is not asking any questions. So feel free to drop them in. I'm going to have a look at the chat now and see if there are any to answer. James is asking, do you think you'll see a difference in entry standards or type of campaigns at next year's festival? Good question. I think it's a difficult question to answer. I am hard to tell the future, but I think with the kind of, you know, things going on with some work that had to be withdrawn last year, I think juries potentially will put more importance on authenticity. So really seeing campaigns that potentially have heard about it already, and it's authentic for the brand. So I think that will be the focus of judges I could think of. And in terms of how the entry standards are, there's a lot of mergers going on in the industry, so it will be a bit difficult to forecast how that would impact numbers. You know, if some agencies that normally enter big, if they're getting merged, who knows? Time will tell. Also, it's a question about when this will actually happen and affecting the industry. But I think in terms of standards, I don't think it will be easier to win, to be absolutely honest. Then we have another question from India. How are you advising clients when it comes to AA use AI use in the entries. I would stay away from AI in your case forms and just use actual materials that have been, used in your campaigns, especially when it comes to visuals. Obviously, please don't doctor any interviews or client quotes. And I mean, obviously, some people might use, like, we don't do this. Some people might use AI for helping writing the entry submission. I guess, especially if you're someone whose first language isn't English, that might be helpful in a certain way to help you translate and get, the entry written. However, personally always think the personal touch and someone, specifically understanding campaign and writing it in an entertaining way will have a little bit of an advantage, only if everyone would submit with, like, ChatGPT written submissions. They all do sound the same at some point. So I feel like even if you use AI to help you assist in your writing, even just from a language point of view, make sure you have an eye on that and have your personal touch, and ensure your campaign highlights are actually highlighted and not just picked up by a machine. So yeah, to help standing out. I hope that answers all the question. I don't know if there are any others. Gonna give you another second. But yeah, as I mentioned, please also feel free to DM me or email me if you have any specific questions. And doesn't look like any more questions coming in. So that leaves me to thank you for your time and attention. Best of luck with your entries, and you know where to find me if you need any help. Have a wonderful day. Bye.